Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Rise and Shine, and I think this was a really great episode, and it was a very well executed episode, pretty much laying out what we have needed for a while. So, this really got into the backstory of General Hale, got into a little bit more of Ruby, but also setting up what the whole thing's going on for our whole framework, pretty much building out what we're trying to go towards for the conclusion. Now, normally, I don't mind kind of slow reveals like this, but when things are happening and you don't really have a connective idea of what's kind of going on or how it's shaping up or panning out, this really needed to have been done, I believe, earlier, or somehow been worked maybe even before the whole time travel aspect could have potentially been done. Like we got this in the beginning, somehow they get transported into the future, and then we're dealing with it. I just think that we have needed this episode for a while, and I'm really glad we got it. So, we start off the episode and we see Coulson taken pretty much to his accommodations. We get an Ivan Drago reference and everything, pretty much laying out what's going on. He knows that something's up with Hale and all that, and get the reveal of her being Hydra and saying that she thinks Coulson and Hydra need to work together for what they're up against. And then we get into a pretty interesting laid out episode. We then go back 28 years into the past, and we see a young Hale essentially at Hydra Academy. Frickin' has a uniform that's got the Hydra patch on it. She's got all this stuff with the Air Force around. And it was an interesting look, at like different kind of people around at the time. She was friends with Sitwell. That was kind of cool. We see Strucker and all that. They're evidently getting close to their graduation, and they're taking notes and all that. And this is in the same room that the same complex that Ruby is in right now as well. So it's like, okay, what's going on here? And then we get some other kind of cool callbacks. They get a guest speaker of Whitehall. And he gets into all this stuff that's going into like the particle infusion chamber that was used on Captain America. And that they want to use it to force human cells to take on the properties of raw material, bringing up lead and cesium and all that kind of stuff. And of course he goes, well, what would be a pretty good material to use? Strucker volunteers that the Tesseract would be pretty good. But of course Hale goes and says, you know what, we should look for where the Tesseract came from. Go even further than that, in outer space. Because S.H.I.E.L.D. has the Tesseract on lockdown. And he goes, very good. And that's kind of the thinking that we want. Of course, that doesn't sit well with Strucker, that he's been made to look stupid in front of the rest of the people, and while Hale is doing some bench presses, other guys put this weight on it, and she didn't have anybody spot her. And she was still able to lift it and throw it off. I'm like, holy crap. And she goes to confront them, but she knows who really did it and beat the crap out of Strucker. Like, damn. Not someone to be messed with. Of course, then this goes on to people getting their assignments. Sitwell being put into S.H.I.E.L.D., him expressing a worry about what will happen to Hale since she beat the crap out of Strucker, the heir apparent of Hydra. Then she gets called into Whitehall, and he's like, oh, you want me to work with you? Oh, that's cool. But essentially, that he sees a potential leader in her, but wants to use her as a breeder, pretty much, trying to make the ultimate Hydra leader, like genetically making them perfected so that they can use the particle machine on them to make them a superhuman, essentially God. Someone. And then you get to really feel for Hale's situation, like, damn, she's bright, she knows how to kick ass, but they even brought up that fact that she was one of the only females to still go through with graduation. We've seen that you had to kill the dog and all that kind of stuff, like, okay, that's kind of suck, and of course she would be embedded in the Air Force and everything, and that she would have to put that with Hydra first. And she asked if there's any other way to do it, and you're like, well, you do have a choice on whether to comply or not. but it's not really a choice. So she goes through with it. It's like, okay, that really sucks. We then get into 2 years ago, and we get Ruby going through the same situation. But of course, since all the stuff that's been going on with Hydra, the class sizes are diminished, but we get more character interaction between Ruby and Hale. I felt like they gave Ruby a better character and gave her the motivations that we needed to see that we weren't quite seeing. So I'm glad that they rectified that going on with this episode. You see her doing well in class, beating up people pretty much, that she's very combat oriented. Even Hale talking with the instructor and all that, but the instructor is talking about the weaknesses that she has, not her physicality, but like her temperament and all that. So they'll bring up the whole stuff with Steve Rogers that'll be alluded to later. I was like, okay. Because you can see that she probably doesn't have the right temperament for it. We then, of course, get them talking about everything that's going on, just Hale and Ruby having a nice kind of mother-daughter lunch, talking about how she wanted to be an astronaut and all that. And you're like, hey, you could go in the Air Force, you can do all this kind of stuff and all that. But then, of course, she gets a phone buzz, same with the instructor guy, and they go up, and this is when Hydra's pretty much getting picked apart, with S.H.I.E.L.D. getting a hold of Gideon Malik and all that. Her going to another Air Force higher up and saying, listen, here, you need this for the vault and all that. And then we get a lot of information, a lot of cool information, that in those vault that he's got, they've got a Chitauri transceiver that happened from New York. Well, Hydra reached out through it and got an answer back from an alliance of several races called the Confederacy. And it's like, ooh, okay, that's interesting. We get more information with that, and it's going, okay, what's this Confederacy? What are they trying to do? I liked how it's going. It's not just a creed thing. There's evidently an amalgamation of races. What's their goals? What's their objectives? We still don't have all that information, but I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing what parts that plays out for. So, of course, that's when Talbot comes in and tries to take the higher up in the Air Force, but of course he goes, Hail Hydra, cyanide pills, and then leaves. Of course, Hale plays off that she's visibly shaken with what's happened and goes off further. We find out that Ruby is the last candidate. They want her to kill the dog, but of course she starts bringing up the instructors, bringing up that it's weakness and all that kind of stuff, but she's going, no, it's weakness to dogmatically follow these inane traditions when we're pretty much dead. It's gone, yeah, stomp out one head, two more take its place. But of course he's going after Ruby, and then Hale comes in, shoots him, and goes, yeah, and we're the only two left. It's like, huh, this is an interesting position for Hydra. It's like, okay, intriguing. We then switch to 6 months ago, and we get Talbot back. Granted, Talbot's an asshole, but I like what his character brings, and I like how they've developed him and what they're doing on here. We see that Hale has been manipulating what's going on because Talbot was like regaining back stuff from his functions from getting shot in the head. He was doing well, but then he starts freaking out at his kid because he's like, the kid said there was a cat, but it's a tiger and everything, and this, I won't get any better if he doesn't tell me the truth. Then, of course, he gets sedated and all that, and Hale, since that freaked out his wife and child, they have taken Talbot to the Hydra facility. And, of course, Hale is... we see what kind of games he's playing. Of course, we see Talbot wake up, get dressed and everything, and we see a similar thing that had happened to Strucker. Which, now that we're seeing more of these things happen, I now understand why we saw the whole thing with Alex. This is kind of her thing to try and get people into her kind of Hydra. And this is a different Hydra. It's not kind of what we're used to. Because we see that towards the end. We see Talbot's like, ooh, alright. And he gets through the Captain Crunch. He's like, I still outrank him as he's eating it. Of course, Ruby comes in. Her ignoring him, of course, flips off his whole switch, him being on the whole, being a superior and everything. Follows her and gets taken out. Hale's bringing up all this stuff like, listen, you're pretty much gone. And pretty much bringing up that I was at a point where I felt like I had no control and I needed a new purpose. And I got that purpose. I want to offer that to you as well. So, okay, you pretty much put him in a position where he has to trust you. So, of course, she kind of takes him off and shows them what she found in the vault. And it was pretty interesting. It's a traveling device that you can meet with the Confederacy face to face, and that the Hydra predecessors have struck a deal for protection from the war that's coming. And of course, she wants Talbot's help because he dealt with the Hydra contraband, and she wants a Hydra device. And he's going, I'm not doing it. Nuh-uh. No way. And of course, Hale is trying a different tactic, saying, screw the flags and everything. We need to protect the Earth. We need to have humanity survive. No, I'd rather die on my 2 legs than slither on your 8 legs and all that. Of course, Ruby has him then put on a chair and everything. Explains that squids are cephalopods and have tentacles, not legs, and then they wheel him off. And he still expresses hope that S.H.I.E.L.D. will come and save him. And I know it seems small, but it's a nice kind of sentiment that Talbot has gotten to the point that he trusts and believes that S.H.I.E.L.D. will come and help him. Granted, it's at the worst possible time since S.H.I.E.L.D. has pretty much been dismantled and flung into the future, but it was cool nonetheless. Then we get to about 24 hours ago, and then we get Coulson and everything. He goes into the room as well. He's like, oh, okay. You see Ruby getting at her food and all that. Coulson, I'm like, yeah, I know this whole kind of trick and everything. You bore me. I'm not playing your game. He goes up, ooh. And then it's like a Captain Crunch cereal, but it's all the berries and everything. All right, just tell Hal that I'll be in my room waiting for her. And he goes off and he's his cereal and all that. I'm like, this is why Coulson's awesome. This is why people like him. He knows this spycraft. He knows how this stuff works. And just like, all right, tell me what's going on. Of course, he kind of gets the spiel as well. And Coulson is more readily able to believe her and everything. And, oh, all right, fine, all right, I'll grab this thing. And she takes him to the Confederacy and everything. And an important thing is, when I watch episodes, I watch with closed captioning because stuff can sometimes go on and I can miss a word or a phrase or whatnot. This was kind of important because they go off and she wanted Coulson to meet them for himself. And we got this dude, Quobas, Q-O-B-A-S. I don't know how to completely pronounce it, but he shows Coulson what's going on with this device on his palm about the warship and all that, and that they're trying to stave off an alien invasion. And Coulson's like, well, then what are the terms? What did your predecessors agree to? And she goes like, well, giving them the Inhumans and everything, giving intel and all that, and just complying with everything that they say. He goes, well, that'll leave us defenseless and all that. And she's like, yes, that's the point. And she wants to alter the deal. It's like, she wants to get it to the point where Earth is deemed a superpower in its own right as well. I'm like, that's actually a pretty good idea. And that's why she wants them to work together. And he goes, that's why you needed the gravitonium. What's your idea? She wants to infuse a person with the gravitonium. And, of course, Ruby thinks that it's going to be her. And Coulson goes, well, she's not really the most stable. She cut off my agent's arms. And Hale even acknowledges that. Knows that she doesn't have the temperament. Coulson brings up Steve Rogers. He had the heart and all that. And she's like, yeah, that's why I want Daisy Johnson. Claiming that we get the whole Destroyer of Worlds thing with this, that Whitehall had called it, because that's what they were trying to make. And Coulson, of course, goes, wait a minute, no, this is 2 and 2 together. We cannot do this. I was kind of turned off by Hale's complete object refusal of what Coulson was talking about, that he had been to the future and all that, because this is someone who has seen these kind of crazy things. But I know that she has to be brought slowly to that, and this is what she's been planning for a while. She wants to infuse Quake with the gravitonium, so that way she's powerful enough to pretty much wreak havoc on anyone that would try to mess with her. But of course, Coulson sees that this would be a very bad idea. And I don't care who you infuse the gravitonium with, it would probably lead to someone who could destroy the Earth, be it Quake or Ruby. This is a whole kind of scenario that it doesn't really matter who you do it with. And I was like, I thought you of all people would understand, but I guess we'll have to see. Guess we'll have to see if you'll change your mind, pretty much trying to force him to comply because she needs Daisy Johnson. Coulson's the only one that knows. Of course, Ruby comes in and says, this isn't going to work on you, is it? And of course, nobody knows that he's dying, so torture isn't going to work on him. But he goes, listen, you're not going to be able to be quick. And she's got this inferiority complex. I'm like, that understands it. She wants to be the best of the best. That kind of stuff. Be the kind of Cap for Hydra kind of thing. And of course, she brings in Talbot to show that her ways, and Talbot told him everything. That's why they wanted the particle infuser and all that. And he says, I'm sorry, Phil. They broke me. And he's like, you came and all that. And it was cool seeing that Talbot still in one piece, even though he was mentally screwed up. And of course, they take him away. We then get towards the end of the episode, and we see that Daisy and May are trying to figure out Coulson's location. They don't know Hale's ultimate goals like we do and Coulson does now, so they're trying to work kind of backwards. May gets the idea to talk to Fitz and figure out kind of that angle, since he's got the whole Hydra thing going on. May pretty much brings, listen, I was in there as well. We've all done stuff that we don't agree with. And he's like, listen, I don't really regret it. And he says, well, I need to be able to get on the computers and everything to access stuff and all that. Of course, Daisy comes in, says, no way. And they don't really work that much out, but Daisy, shows her displeasure by quaking him against the wall and him saying, listen, I'm sorry, but I don't regret it. It needed to be done. And I like this kind of moral quandary because Daisy was so afraid of being the destroyer of worlds that she would pretty much let a fear dimension just start bubbling through and everything. I'm like, yeah, all of us have the capacity to be someone that could make decisions that could lead to catastrophic consequences. But our inaction can also lead to those consequences as well, especially if a fear dimension keeps opening up and changing and breaking apart the Earth, because that could have eventually done. So, I kind of like how Daisy's got a right to be angry and pissed off. She was violated. But I can understand why Fitz does not regret what he did, because he views it as he needed to save the world. And the only way he could do that is letting his dark side manifest more physically. So, of course, Daisy then storms off, and her idea is to go and ask Robin for assistance. It's like, that's a ballsy thing that you'd have to get her out of hiding and everything, so we'll have to see how that works out. We then also get Simmons talking with Mac, and they have surgically had the prosthetics onto Yo-Yo and everything, see them working out and everything. Like, alright, cool. And Mac's trying to console Simmons on what's going on with Fitz and all that. It's like, well, listen, you're the good guy in there as well. Alright. And then, of course, we get Simmons going in and doing the reveal of what's going on with Deke. And she's like, because Mac was afraid of Yo-Yo saying that she was invincible because she made it in the future. It's like, yeah, that's a dangerous thing to figure out. The time kind of works like that. That a certain events could play out and that's what you'd have. It's like, oh, that is, instead of taking that to heart, it's like, hey, see this? It's like, yeah, I had the number engraved and everything. Well, that's not yours. These are yours. And those were Deke's giving to his grandfather. It's like, oh God, we have a Deke. It's like we have a daughter, and she marries a space goon and gives birth to a Deke. And it's just, Fitz's reaction was great. But Simmons was trying to just get through to him that, listen, we're going to get through this. Okay? And you're going to be good enough that we'll have a family, and they'll have a family, and you'll be a grandpa and everything. And I was like, yeah. So we'll have to see how that all works out. And I'm like, okay. This was a really good episode of advancing what's going on, getting us much needed information and character development, and hopefully this continues its momentum to the season finale. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.